I'm going to be referencing information in previous videos and adding some things that will expand or in some cases change what's in them. If you haven't seen them, the links are below. Some of these are ideas I'd had when I was putting the videos together, but for different reasons didn't include at the time. Going through the pages of the sonnets, the one obvious mistake is that Sonnet 116 is misprinted as 119. This is a reference to Psalm 119, which has 22 sets of verse, each beginning with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet. This first clue lets the reader know that the code in the sonnet numbers beginning on the following page with Sonnet 122 and including numbers 9, 10, 18 and the turn of a word or is to be read as in Hebrew from right to left. Also, when deciphered, the code begins in Hebrew spelling Yihi or, in Latin FIAT LVX or let there be light, followed by a phonetic spelling of Cairo. It starts here on the page after 116 in Sonnet 122 with this reversed gamma letter giving us the Gematria character for God. The message is from Genesis. God said, "Let there be light," followed by a Cairo symbol. The Cairo is spelled phonetically so that by using the other Kabbalistic methods of Notaricon and Tamara, we can get the spellings of F Rosy T, Fratris Rosicrucis, or Brothers of the Rosy Cross, and FORTIS, a reference to Edward de Vere. If an H is added or another sonnet number, or if anything about it's changed, we don't get the word FORTIS. Returning to Sonnet 116, just like how Sonnet 40 is on the 17th page counting from the first sonnet, if you count from the last sonnet, Sonnet 116 is also on the 17th page. With the significance of the number 11, 11 plus 6 equals 17 for the 17th Earl of Oxford, also is printed as 119, 11 plus 9 equals 20, and the 20th letter in Latin Gematria is V, possibly for Vere. The word ever, an anagram of Vere, appears in the sonnets a total of 12 times, twice in this sonnet. 12 is significant because there's 12 letters in Edward de Vere and Earl of Oxford. Taking a cue from what Alexander Waugh did on the cover of the sonnets by drawing the Cairo symbol, I drew a line from the T in sonnets down to the letter H collation mark at the bottom of the page. This gives us the Templum Hierosolima, or Temple of Jerusalem character found on the Shakespeare Memorial in Stratford. From this character we get the Triple Tau, or Clavus et Thesaurus, the key to the treasure of Royal Arch Freemasonry, with its hidden fourth T, also demonstrated by Waugh. Interestingly, this line passes right through the O in Rosy, and also the words compass and edge, symbols of Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry. Another interesting coincidence is the word never is the 43rd word. Using the repeated count, 43 is double V. This line divides the letter N from it, giving us the word ever, again a Vere anagram. In Greek, a lowercase n is drawn like a V, so as the 43rd word, there's V ever or V Vere. So 3 times we have an anagram for Vere with possibly a hidden fourth if we include the word man next to ever on the last line, because in Latin, man is Vere, V-I-R. Adding the letters for rich and the abbreviation for Wriothesley, 37 plus 79 equals 116. In context with some of the words of the above lines of verse, maybe there's an allusion to Henry de Vere. All this might be a coincidence, but what is not is the fact that Sonnet 116 is misprinted as 119, which, I feel certain, is a reference to Psalm 119, letting the reader know that the sonnet number code in the verse, as well as the italicized words, are to be understood as if reading Hebrew from right to left. Next, the initials beneath the dedication at first look are 2-letter T's, or double tals. I showed in my second video how each set of these initials on the cover dedication in the verse can also be read as GT, or Gamma Tau, for the God character discovered by Alexander Waugh on the cover. But we can't get around the fact that, when examined closely, the dedication initials are intentionally printed in a way so as to be interpreted as TT, GT, and also GG. It's done very subtly, but these characters can be read as 2 gammas. This is significant because in both Greek and Hebrew, the letters for G, gamma and gamel, are both the 3rd letter, so GG can be understood as 33 or 33. Using this ancient Greek Gematria chart, also brought to my attention by Alexander Waugh, even with the initials GT, gamma and tau equals 33 or 33. With the repeated count, 2 G's equals 30. So, depending on how you're numbering them, the initials can be equal to 33 or 33 or 30 using the repeated count. In Hebrew, El or Lamed is equal to 30. The word El, E-L, in Hebrew means God, lowercase g. So GG equaling 30 is a reference to God, and GG equaling 33 is the Jesus number. Also, the letter G stands for God, but also the pronunciation of the letter G sounds like the first syllable of Jesus. So GG stands for God and Jesus, and is numerically understood as 30, or El, God in Hebrew, and as 33, the number commonly associated with Jesus. And remember that the initials can be read as GT, giving us the character for God. At first look, the dedication initials are printed so as to resemble two T's, but they're also a G and a T, which makes this God character found on the cover, dedication, and at the beginning of the verse encryptions in Sonnet 122. And there are also two G's, which equals 33 or 33 using the Greek count for gamma, and also can equal 30 using the Latin repeated count. In Hebrew and Greek, L is equal to 30. The word El in Hebrew means God, and 33 is a number that's commonly associated with Jesus, being the age Christians believed when he was crucified and resurrected. Now, Alexander Waugh has shown how the dedication, when rotated and outlined, is Edward de Vere's funerary urn. In my second video, I suggested that instead of rotating the page, we flip it, and if we hold it up to a light, like the word eclipses in Sonnet 60, the initials become two L's. The word El in Hebrew means God, so again we have God and Jesus. In Hebrew and Greek, L is equal to 30, but with Latin Gematria, L is equal to 11. In the video, I suggested adding this as 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equaling 4, or in German or Dutch, Vere. I also thought that 11 plus 11 equaling 22, or the letter Y in Latin Gematria, might be an allusion to the Pythagorean Y, but no, the 22 is a reference to the Hebrew Tav or Tau, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and Tau in the Latin alphabet is T, or a cross. So, like I was suggesting in the video Alpha and Omega, we have on the dedication 33 or Jesus as the Alpha, flip the page for the funerary urn and get 22 or Tau the Omega, Jesus and the cross. Also with Latin Gematria, the name of God, I am, is equal to 22. There's a lot of God and Jesus references to all this, which can be expected of someone like John Dee. And speaking of John Dee, there's some other interesting things about the letters LL. With the repeated count, LL is equal to 34. 3 and 4, or ternary and quaternary, can give us 3 plus 4 equaling 7, or 3 times 4 equaling 12, both significant numbers in the book of Revelations. The name D has 3 letters. John Dee sometimes signed his name with a Greek delta, or D. D, or delta, is the 4th letter. So 3, 4, 34 may be an example of a ternary hidden within a quaternary. Also, there's 4 letters in John and 3 in D. Read right to left as in Hebrew, 3 and 4, or 34. Again, with the repeated count, LL equals 34. So maybe John Dee's tying his name in with God and Jesus and signing his work. In Theorem 16 of Monos Hieroglyphica, he explains how the letter L, or God spelled EL in Hebrew, makes up the cross. Actually, 2 L's. When these are drawn together, they form a cross. Also, the L character can be rotated to make a V. The 2 V's together make an X, which is also a cross. Again, notice that according to this method by John Dee, the 2 L's can be turned to make 2 V's. In Theorem 17, Dee explains how the letters or characters LVX make the word lux, or light. If we interpret these initials as L's in Hebrew and Greek, Lamed and Lambda, they're equal to 30. 2 L's then would be equal to 60. And it's in Sonnet 60 we get the dot or point underscoring the word eclipses. Opposite it on the other side of the page is the word times with a period over the S. When you hold eclipses up to the light, time, the S isn't included because of the period. Time spells emit. I explain how this is all part of another FIAT LVX or Let There Be Light message in my first video. If, like John Dee says, an L can be turned slightly to make a V, then the 2 L's on the funerary urn can be 2 V's for de Vere. V is the Roman numeral for 5. Dee explains this in Theorem 16, so V and V is 5, 5, or 55. In the first video, I explained how in Sonnet 55, this line with the strange mark here has both a De Vere reference, Mars sword, and a third FIAT LVX message with quickfire and the value number 55. But also what's important is the idea being expressed in Sonnet 55, or VV, that this tribute in verse gives an immortality that stone monuments can't. And since there's no statues to De Vere, his verse makes him immortal. So this idea is printed within Sonnet 55, or in Roman numerals VV. Another thing about the two L's, remember they can make a cross, but they can also make another form of a cross, an X. And an X, according to this Greek numbering system, is equal to 40, Edward de Vere's number. Thinking in terms of, I'll call it Christian mysticism, I believe that the dedication initials are used in combination with the urn to create the message that Edward de Vere is immortalized by his verse and within the light of the cross, or Christ. John Dee had the initials designed this way because he understood how, just like in Mona's Hieroglyphica, they can be manipulated to create other letters and characters, changing their numerical values and giving them deeper meanings, namely God, Light, Christos, and Edward de Vere.